Hi everyone, this is Debbie from Reclined Yoga. I've planned a restorative yoga session for this stay home class, and that requires you to find a really comfortable resting position. So in this video, I'm going to be providing some suggestions for creating a relaxing environment, demonstrate some seated and lying down postures, and show you how to make those postures really comfortable. If you want to dive straight into the session, go to the video, stay home and do nothing. I'll include a link to that video up here and in the video description. In a restorative yoga session, we minimize all those sensory distractions to promote tranquility. And then we cushion and support the body to encourage stillness and deep relaxation. Before you start, ensure you have something like a blanket or sheet to cover yourself, because as you start to relax, your body temperature will drop. You might also like an eye pillow or something light to place over the eyes. And feel free to burn candles, oil or incense. And if you would like some music, choose some ambient music to play quietly in the background. I'm going to demonstrate a reclined seated position for the chair and the lounge, which can also be adapted for the floor. A supported forward folding position for the chair, again one which can also be adapted for the floor. A side lying posture and a supine posture where you're lying on your back. So if you have yoga equipment like a bolster, blanket or blocks, feel free to use them. I'm not using any yoga equipment here other than my mat. I've taken the doona and 2 pillows off my bed. I've got a couple of crochet blankets there, a beach towel, lots of cushions, some books, and yes, that's my stock pot. You might need more or less equipment depending on what your body needs to feel comfortable. Unless you wish to view the setup for all these restorative postures, choose your posture and fast forward to the appropriate timestamp. You can also use the chapter feature, which at the time of recording is displayed next to the timestamp of the video. So let's start with a reclined seated pose. Now when I do this in the chair, I prefer to use my dining chairs because they've got that back. If I'm using a chair like this one, which doesn't have much of a back, I like to bring it up against the wall so that I've got the wall there to help me create that support. So whichever chair you've chosen, just make sure that it is stable, it's not likely to move. You might like to place it on your yoga mat. So every restorative posture is going to be different depending on the chair, depending on your body. So for me, I found that I needed a cushion, 2 pillows. I've got a sarong here to wrap around my eyes, 2 towels, my doona and a book. So what I find with these particular chairs, when I'm sitting on there, the edge is quite hard, and your chair might also have a little bit of a dip. So it's nice to try and level this out, maybe by putting a blanket on there or softening it with a towel. So I'm placing my towel just a little bit over, just to give me a little bit padding over that edge. Now to create my slope. So I want to sit a little towards the front of my chair so that I can lean back. Now when I do that, I've got a lot of space behind my back, and I want to feel that that's supported. So I can put another pillow just a little bit higher, so that goes into the small of my back. But what I found was, as I started to relax, there still was a bit of a gap. I would start to drop my lower back in, and that's where the book came into play. So I actually put the book there just to make it a little bit more stable. And then when I sitting up there, that feels a lot more stable. Then again, my head feels like it's going to drop back. So we really want to have the chin kind of close to the chest to create that length in the back. And I've just done that by placing the cushion behind me. Now I'm short, I'm actually up on my toes here, so it's not comfortable for me to stay in this position, even with my feet flat on the floor. So this is what my doona's for. It's a little foot rest. Okay, so if I start to relax, my feet are going to go apart. So I might take my feet slightly wider apart. The other thing that I'm going to find is that as I start to relax, my hands are going to come to the side. One of the ways that you can support your arms is to then get a sarong or a shawl or a blanket. So if it's really cold, just lifting up the blanket, tuck each end under, just adjusting it to where it feels comfortable. I've actually done this by wearing a jacket backwards, or sometimes I wear a vest and I have my hands in my pockets. Because it's quite warm today, I'm just going to fold this in half, place it under, and just allow my hand, just trying to find that point that when I start to relax, my hands feel comfortable. The sarong is really just here to place over my eyes. So, as I said, today it's quite warm, but I could also put a blanket over my legs and maybe even wrap my legs to make sure that it feels comfortable. Take a blanket and wrap it around my legs so that as my legs start to relax, the blanket supports them as well. So let's see if I can finalize this position. So this reclined seated posture is on the lounge. Because of my back, I want to make sure that there's plenty of support here. So what I've used for this posture is my 2 pillows, 4 cushions, my doona, a book, and I'm actually going to take this cushion from the lounge as well. I want to set up my slope. Now I found that I needed a cushion here for supporting my back. And then this was so floppy that I used a book behind it to make sure that it didn't flop too much behind me. Again, I need a little bit of support for my neck and my head. Just make sure that it all feels fine. Oops, that's a little bit low. So I've actually brought this cushion down behind my shoulders to support my head. I could probably put another book there or another cushion behind it to allow my head to come forward a little. What's nice is to actually have support for your feet. But rather than having it under my ankles, I found it more comfortable to bring it closer so that my ankles can just relax over the edge. This is the reclined position on the floor. If you tend to sleep on your stomach, a posture where you're folding forward might be more comfortable for you. So for the chair supported forward fold, we need 2 chairs. Again, I'm using my dining chair because it does have that back, which allows me to, which provides me for some support for my postures. In this one, I'm using my stock pot, my 2 pillows, 2 towels, a cushion, and 4 books. First, we need to build our slope, but before I actually start the slope, I'm just going to put a towel behind it because when we're sitting here, we bring our hands around the pot, and I found that that was quite cold, so I'm just going to create a little sleeve for myself so that when I bring my hands around, I can put them through without feeling the cold of the stock pot. So I'm going to use the books to create the slope. See how that feels. And I'm actually going to put this down here to give me a little bit more support through the tummy. I want to feel that my lower back is just gently stretched and I can naturally round over. I'm just going to use this towel to soften the edge of my chair. I'll bring it as close as I can. And then because I'm short, I need a couple of foot rests. Let's see how that feels. So I like to have this cushion right down between my legs. It just feels really nice and comfortable there. See how it goes. So you can turn your head to the side. If you find that that's uncomfortable, you might like to put use something like a sarong or a scarf to cushion it. I still feel I'm a little bit low here. I'm still not getting the support that I want here. Yeah, I'll go a bit closer. Yes, that feels more comfortable. So now let me demonstrate the supported forward fold on the floor. The floor version of the supported forward fold can be practiced as a variation of child's pose or as a seated forward fold. For the child's pose variation, I initially used my stock pot, 3 books, 2 pillows and a cushion to create the sloped support, a rolled up towel under my ankles, and 2 cushions between my calves and thighs. This isn't a favourite position for me. I experimented with placing a folded towel on my forehead and finally around the stock pot, replacing the cushions between my legs with the doona and then using the cushions to support my arms. For the seated forward fold, I sat on the doona to raise my hips and tilt myself forward,
placed cushions under my slightly bent knees, and then used the stock pot, books, pillows, cushion, and a towel to make a slightly higher support.
This next posture is a side lying pose, and it can be done lying on the floor or on the bed. Whether you choose to be on the floor or in bed, just play around with it to make sure that you feel comfortable. So if you're going to lie down on the floor, you might like to put a blanket down to ensure that you've got a bit of padding and it's a little bit more comfortable. So when we're lying sideways on the floor, we want to not actually be on the shoulder, actually have the shoulder out on the side and leaning back slightly. What I'm using for this side lying pose is 3 cushions, a towel, 2 pillows and 3 books. So the thing is to make sure that my head is supported. And I've discovered that for me, I need a towel, which just gives it a little bit of stability, and a cushion. Yeah, so that just feels right here. Now the books, I'm just going to stack them here. So I want to be able to put my arm along there, have my pillow on top of my books. So that just means that this pillow isn't lying on top of my hand, on top of my arm. Now that might be fine if you're in bed. And I can just place my other hand, so it's at the right height. 3 books is what I need to be able to just place my hand gently on top of this pillow. I'm then going to place a cushion between my knees, between my ankles. And this, it's not necessary, but it does feel really nice to have something behind you as well. And from here you can then place a scarf across your eyes and a blanket over you as well. The final position is lying down on your back. Again, if you're lying on the floor, you might like to spread a blanket over your mat to ensure that you're warm and comfortable. At its simplest, you might just need something underneath your head. And then bend the knees and just let the knees fall in towards each other, just finding that point where it feels comfortable. One of the things that I like to do is to have some support underneath my thighs. This allows my knees to bend to provide a little bit more support for my lower back. And this can be particularly important if you're lying on the bed. Another option which I find feels particularly good for my back, is to actually have the pillows raised up so that my legs are a little bit higher. So I'm going to use 3 books about the same size here. Now I want to place my calves on this.
When I set myself up for the stay home and do nothing video, I discovered I needed a little more height so that my lower legs were parallel to the surface I was lying on. When setting yourself up, try to have your upper legs at an angle that lets your lower back release and relax into the floor or bed.
And what I also like to do, especially in colder weather, is to wrap my legs in a blanket. Again, just having a scarf across the eyes helps to block out light. So choose your position, gather whatever you need in the form of equipment. Play around with your chosen posture to make sure that it's completely comfortable, and then move on to the next video. Stay home and do nothing. Om Shanti. Go in peace.